we are not all that high on the Auburn Tigers, the more intel that we have gotten from fall camp down there. I don't know. I think it's going to take a little bit longer for that program to get its legs under it, under Brian Harson.
Haters gonna hate, and ain'ters gonna ain't.
That is not an actual thing people say.
Welcome back to Infinite Auburn, and on this episode of Last Week in Auburn Football, we're going to talk about a few different things. I'll discuss some updates concerning the football team, the starting O-line, who the team captains are for this season, as well as some updates concerning the football season in general and what fans can expect. First, I want to start with who was named as the team captains for this upcoming season, as well as the starting O-line. We found out this week that the team named Owen Pappoe and Chandler Wooten as the team captains for this season. This is surprising mainly because two defensive players were named as the captains and nobody on offense. However, Owen Pappoe is an obvious choice because he is such a good linebacker for Auburn and he is a leader for the team. And then Chandler Wooten is I think he's a fantastic choice, mainly because of his story over the past year. Last season in 2020, he did take the season off to focus on being a father, and some of that I think had to do with the COVID season as well. But then he came back this season and he talked to Brian Harson about how he wanted to be a leader and he can be a leader for this team. And it is obvious. He came to the field, he came to the locker room with a mission, and he has delivered as far as the other players are concerned. He is a guy they can look up to. He is putting in the work. He's put in the effort, and I think his teammates have noticed since he has been named one of the team captains for this season. According to his teammates, Chandler has not missed a beat. Even though he sat out one season, he's gotten right back into things. He's not skipped a beat, and he is ready to work hard, and his work ethic is showing. The most surprising thing about this team captain news is, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that we do not have an offensive player as a team captain. One of the concerning parts about that is the fact that we have a third-year QB coming in who started the past two seasons, and his teammates did not see him as someone who should be one of our team captains. I'm not trying to read too much into it, but at the same time, that is something we should pay attention to. Harson also announced the starting O-line, at least for now, earlier this week. He did name these 5 players as the starting offensive line for the Auburn Tigers, at least like I said, for now. And those players are Troxell, Council, Brahms, Jones, and Ham. But he did say that Tayshawn Manning is not too far behind Jones. Will this be the starting lineup, the starting 5, when we start against Akron? We'll have to see, but for now, this is what Harson is telling us. Next up, I want to talk about some terrible season record predictions that we've received this week. And I say they're terrible only because they don't have a good outlook for Auburn. Are they bad predictions? Not necessarily, but they're certainly not optimistic. So the two that I saw this week were from Auburn Wire and from Josh Pate at 24/7 Sports. Josh Pate predicts that Auburn will go 6-6. He did not specify which games Auburn would win and lose, but the model he uses predicted 6-6 for Auburn. At Auburn Wire, they got a little more specific. So for Auburn Wire, they also predicted that the team would go 6-6, but here are the teams that they thought Auburn would lose to. They were predicting losses at Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Alabama. I think the one that was a little surprising on that list is Ole Miss. However, one thing we have to keep in mind is that Ole Miss's offense is they are really producing. The question is, what is their defense going to be like? The reason and I'll do a prediction show later, predicting the record, but that's not it today. The reason I kind of question the Ole Miss as a loss is our defense is supposed to be really good this season. We're supposed to have a solid linebacker core. We're going to have a solid defensive back core. We're going to be good on defense. And so, yes, Ole Miss is good on offense, but I think their defense is still pretty terrible. They're improving, but not that much. And so that's the one on this list that I kind of question. The others, we'll just have to see, because at Penn State, at LSU are going to be hard just because of the atmosphere. And then we know that Texas A&M, Alabama, and Georgia are going to be tough games no matter what, no matter where they're played. So we'll just have to see. A little bit later, we'll see what some of these teams look like when we start the season, and then we'll actually get into some more predictions. But right now, Josh Pate is predicting Auburn at 6-6, and Auburn Wire is predicting Auburn at 6-6 as well. And I'm trying to see, this article is from Brian Stultz, if you want to look it up, and I'll leave a link to that down in the description below as well. This one's from May 18th. The other one from Josh Pate is from this week. Next, I want to discuss a few fun things about Auburn's upcoming football season, and that is information we got about a few themed games we have coming up, different colors that can be worn at the home games, a couple of appreciation days, and then I also want to talk about some opportunities that you have to get some free tickets to some of these home games if you've got a kid. And I'll leave a link to that and tell you a little more about that in just a moment. But first, let's start with the themed games for Auburn this season. According to Auburn Athletics, these are the themed games we currently have scheduled. On September 4th versus Akron, wear white. On September 11th versus Alabama State, this is going to be a Hometown Heroes appreciation game. On Saturday, October 9th versus Georgia, this will be a game where everybody needs to wear navy. On October 30th versus Ole Miss, wear orange. And then on Saturday, November 13th versus Mississippi State, this will be a military appreciation game. The other thing that was announced this week is a program called Kickoff Kid, and this will give you the opportunity to win some free tickets, 4 free tickets to a home game this season, but there are some stipulations. So let me tell you about those stipulations and what you can do to apply to win these tickets. So like I said, this is called the Auburn Kickoff Kid, and at each home game this season, one lucky child between the ages of 5 and 12 will enjoy the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of experiencing kickoff from the sideline at Pat Dye Field. Here's what each winner will receive. Each winner will receive 4 game tickets, 4 VIP pregame hospitality passes, pregame sideline access for Kickoff Kid and a guardian, recognition on the Jordan-Hare Stadium video board, and an Auburn t-shirt. So if you want a chance at winning some free tickets and you've got a kid between 5 and 12, I would sign up for this ASAP, because this is a golden opportunity to get to go to an Auburn game free of charge. You can find a link to the information on Kickoff Kid in the description below. And our final story today is about more COVID stuff, and I promise we're going to be done with it. There's no opinion on this one. It's just some updates we got on Brian Harson and Derek Mason. And then after that, we're going to move on and get into the season and leave this COVID stuff behind us. We did find out that Derek Mason tested positive. He was vaccinated, and so he did have a breakthrough case. The good thing is that he did recover and he is doing well, but he did contract it as a breakthrough case. We also heard from Brian Harson this week. He did a Zoom interview and answered a few questions. One thing we did find out is that he is planning on returning to normal operations on Monday, August 30th. So we should have our coaching staff mostly back to normal, and we can get ready for this Akron game coming up on Saturday. Harson did have this quote from that Zoom interview that I want to read for you. The quote says, "Let me be clear," he said, "I am not anti-vaccine, and any narrative along those lines is misinformed." So there you go. You have it from him. He's not anti-vaccine. If you ask him, he says he is pro-personal choice, but he's not against the vaccine. That's about the best we're going to get from him as far as his stance. We're not going to find out if he is or is not vaccinated, so that is not something people really need to worry about, because we're not going to know. He's choosing to keep that to himself. I think the most important thing with this is that he did have another quote about people asking him, will Auburn reach the 85% threshold, because currently they're not there. And so when asked about that, Harson said this. Harson said vaccines on the team have increased in recent days and that he's optimistic we'll approach that. Approaching that meaning the 85% threshold. So we'll just have to see if we actually get there or not. If we get there, things change with the team as far as testing protocol, which is why so many football teams tried to get to that point. And that's really all I wanted to say about the COVID stuff. I think we're going to move on from that point. I know some people have mentioned, is Auburn going to require any kind of vaccine verification, negative test, anything like that to enter the stadium? It does not appear like that's going to be a thing for Auburn this season, or at least not right now. I don't see that happening. And with the rules that the state of Alabama put in place, I don't see that being a thing this season, or at least not for now, unless something changes. The good news is this is the last weekend before we have Auburn football back in our living rooms or in person, and I think that's the most important thing that we need to be focused on. Auburn football is almost here, it's almost back, and I'm pumped, I'm excited for this. Thank you again for watching Infinite Auburn. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff, leave me a comment below, and I will see you in the next one.